So we're going to indicate a wheel and tire, if you will, much like what you see here, using some quick Zbrush techniques. So let's get started. I've got this quick scoped, and I think you've seen it already in one of my videos. And I'm casually working on all of these vehicles. You know, there's no real push, but little by little. So I want to put these wheel indications in there, spoke wheel indications, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to do that by first masking out one side of one of these wheels. I'm going to do that by going to mask and then circle. I want to make sure that circle is on center and also square so that it stays proportional, and just drag that out until go here, find that, and then go down, because we want to make sure that that's right in the center of the wheel. That's good enough, something like that. And once we found that, we can go to transform, and we can go to select pivot. We also have to go to visibility and hide everything but that mask. So you do that by going to visibility and hide point, or hide PT. Then you can go to select pivot, and that's going to put that pivot or the masked part right inside of the center here. Then I can shift and control and bring everything back. And so now we know that that's right in the center of the pivot. And now I can now go to transform, and we're going to activate symmetry by pressing X. And what we're going to do is press radial symmetry, and I want to put this on maybe 5. Let's do this on 5. Alright, we're on 5. And now I can mimic what we saw earlier. So I'm pressing control down and making sure I'm on the right masking function, freehand in this case. And I'm just going to go and see if I can create a shape that I think would work. Unfortunately, we don't have all of the wheel there. You know, you can see some cut off. I often do that. But when you press Control Alt, you can delete the mask. So I'm cleaning up the mask in certain locations, and just Control to apply the mask. So with that, we want to make that into polygroup, so I'm going to press Control W, and now that is a polygroup, as you can see there. Right? I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this whole subtool, Shift D, and now we've duplicated our subtool. I'll turn off one, and then Shift Control to isolate this here like that. And then now I can put a crease along that edge. So I'm going to go to Geometry, and then Crease. And let's go ahead and crease this polygroup here. So now you can see a poly that's creased. And with that, like that, I'm going to clean up the edges by, you can see all the jagged edges. That's not good enough, right? So I am going to press the comma key to bring up the light box, then go to Brush, and then go to Smooth, and then go to Smooth Crease. And with that, if I press Shift, you can see up here in this upper left-hand corner, Smooth Crease is selected instead of the regular smooth. And when I hold down Control, you can see now I'm smoothing up those edges. And the more I rub over those edges, I should probably put it on, let me undo this because I want to make sure that it's symmetrical, and we want to press X to turn on the radial symmetry. So now when I go ahead and do that, it's going to do all of the sides that I need it to do. And it's getting smoother, as you can see. But if it's not getting smooth enough, or there's still some wigglies, what I do is go ahead and go to B, S, and we're going to pick the slide to. And so now I can slide the polys where I need them to go to correct. Like I want this to be flat here, right there. So I'm going to take this and make that flat, just to give it a little bit of tension. Like that. Unfortunately, we don't have the full thing, and it would be better if I did. And then I'm going to smooth it a little bit using my smooth key. I'm smoothing it some, and then I'm moving it, smoothing it, moving it, just making sure that I get something that I like. I think this needs to be moved in a little bit. So we've got something that we like here. And what I can do now is turn it off of symmetry. I'm pressing X, turning off of symmetry. And then I can shift control, and isolate that by tapping it. And then I'm going to put an edge loop around the side. So I'm going to press Control E to do that. But really what I'm doing is I'm going to Geometry, Edge Loop, and Edge Loop right here. And you can see that if you look closely, I'm putting an edge right around that poly group that was established. All right, bring everything back, and then I can go and isolate that again by pressing Shift Control. And I'm going to mask it by pressing Control and clicking in the window, bringing everything back, and then flipping the mask by pressing Control and clicking in the window. Now I'm going to press Shift F to isolate everything, and we've got this shape. And with that shape selected, I am going to press my W key to bring up the transpose to is out here. And I might as well press Alt, press this, and it's going to center this transpose on the center, or somewhere near the center of what is selected. And I'm going to hold down Alt now, and I am going to just eyeball the center. That's good enough. Then what now I can do is take the scale tool and just bring that in, as you can see here. And with that brought in, I can take that directly back, as you can see right here. Oh, there must be a mask, some mask on there, but I guess that's not too bad. I'm not, because that's going to be inside anyways. As you can see, I've made that depression, and I am going to scale it again to bring that in a little bit, just sort of like what we've seen before, like that. And let's say that's good enough for the depression. Now we need to do everything else. I mean, that would almost be good enough if you're just doing one wheel, but I want all the other wheels to be the same, right? So I'm going to go back to Shift F to see the poly group, press Q to get out of the transpose to, and create another poly group by going to pressing on Select, holding down Shift and Control, pressing on Select, and going to Slice Curve here. Also making sure that this is on Square, Center, and Square. And we're going to make sure that this is also centered. I'm trying to cut all of this out. And by the way, to move this as like that, while you're pressing Shift Control, you're also pressing space at the same time to be able to move this cutting. When you get it just right, you can let go, and that will slice, as you see there, what you need. So with that, now I can take this and deselect that, take this. I need to put on the select rectangle and swipe in the window, and I'm going to invert that selection like you see here, right? And I'm going to delete hidden. Delete hidden is also in geometry. Go to geometry and then go to modify topology and then delete hidden right here. I have it down here too. So delete hidden. So everything's gone except for what you see here. And then now I can, I'm just going to slice everything but what I need. I'm going to take this here, make that disappear, and we just got that. Delete hidden. And actually, let me take everything but that, and I am going to change this into a different poly group. So I'm going to slice this. I don't want this little N that you see here, so I'm going to take this and slice it here, about right there. And so that's a different poly group. Bring everything back, and then hide everything but that, and then I can delete hidden. So we got this little thing right here. That's all we have. Again, it would be nice if I had the complete circle, then, but I don't. So I won't mention that again. Then now I can take this whole thing, and we're going to put a poly group around this edge here. So I'm going to control. First, I actually have to hide something to put a poly group there. So I'm going to actually shift, control, and hide that, and then click it again and bring that back, because what I want is a poly group around that edge. So I'm going to control E, and I put a poly group around all the exposed edges here and also there. Bring everything back by clicking inside the window, shift control and clicking in the window. And now I can take everything, take this, oops. I need to actually separate this, so I need to click this, and we need to divide this green around the edge from that green. So let's go to poly group and go to poly group and then auto group right here. So I can now shift, control, click that and make that disappear. And I am going to now mask this, what we see here in the window, by control and clicking in the window. Bring everything back, and then control and clicking in the window, and what I'm doing is inverting the mask now. So you can see, if you look up close, the edge is not masked. Then I can take my transpose to W and just bring that whole thing up like that. You can see that. Brought the whole thing up. And then now I've got this contraption like this. Now this, you can see inside of this by, if you're looking on the outside, you can see inside of that. That's because the normals are flipped. The normals are on the inside. And I can flip those normals by going to display properties, and I can flip the normals. And now the normals are on the outside, as you can see there. They're pointing toward the outside. That really didn't matter for what I'm going to do next, because what I'm going to do next is simply, let me turn off the poly frame. You can see it there. I'm going to Dynamesh this. And oftentimes when you Dynamesh, it's going to flip the normals to where they need to be anyways. But just to show you, I went there to show you how you flip the normals. So I'm going to go to Geometry and go to Dynamesh and put this on a good thing. Let's start with the 480, and let's just go ahead and press Dynamesh. And so yeah, it's Dynamesh, and it covered the hole there. So now what I have here and I'm going to move this whole thing back here, is this contraption here, this tool, I can use as a Boolean to Boolean all the other wheels and get them just right, the front and the rear. So I'm going to bring back the duplicate version that you saw. I'm going to turn that back on, and that's in that location. With all of these, now what I want to do is just turn off transform, and we're going to turn off that clear the pivot here. So that's going to be back. We want everything back in normal. That's back to normal. Let's go to this, and we're going to clear the pivot here. Go to transform, clear pivot. So now everything is back to normal here, sort of, kind of. And now I can take that and I can Boolean it. By the way, I've gone along and did this already, but I'll show you how I've done that in the next section. All right. Okay, you might as well keep this microphone on. There's a fan in the background, so you forgive me. It's kind of hot in this room. Anyways, I'm going to put some impressions. I'm going to use the Boolean tool to put some wheel impressions in this model. You've seen it before, but I think it's worth showing. So I've made this little this tool that I'm going to show you. So I've got this tool that I've made earlier, and it's just an impression of a wheel, and with it, it's got a matching inset. So if I turn this off, you can see there's a matching inset for it. So that would be a different color. So this is how I'm going to use it. Turn this on. I'm going to combine these two like this and merge them together to 1, 2, merge down here. So those are now one subtube. And then I'm going to switch back to the model that I was on. Isn't that one? Isn't that one? Was this one. And import that tube, or open up that tube. So we'll go to pinned here, and then find that wheel. And there it is. Pick this tube, and I'm going to orient it in the way that it needs to be oriented. I'm going to turn it, make sure it's off of symmetry, and turn it. By the way, when you turn something, you can lock it per 5 degrees by pressing down on Shift and Control at the same time. So I'm going to do it 90 degrees, and so I've got that. I'll pull it out a little bit so that when I scale it, it's not. I'm going to scale this. Let's bring it up a little bit. Let's move it. And obviously, I want it to be right in the center of that opening. This is the way I designed it, at least. And now I'm going to push this in. Simple Boolean, by the way. And I think that they've made some really nice Boolean system with live Booleans. So I'm going to grab this here, this particular one, and I want to place that. I'm going to place that. No, that's in a good location. So I'll take this one and turn it on subtract. And you can see the live Boolean system is already showing how that would look like. I'm just going to simply duplicate this one right here. Control Alt and drag it to the other side like this. Sort of center it there. So now we've got that. And so that's that. And then now if we go ahead and turn it, I'm going to take this one here, make sure that they're unmasked. And I want to actually divide one from the other. So I'm going to grab this here, turn this on like this. Before I do that, let's because remember, there's one inside. There's an object inside of this big Boolean tool there, the wheel Boolean tool. So I'm going to first, go to polygroup, and here's my polygroup, and we're going to auto group, and that's going to effectively make each tube that is not really touching each other or attached physically into its own separate tube. Let me just go ahead and turn everything off, just so that I can see these tubes without anything. So I'm going to grab this, take that off, and then split. We can split hidden is what we're going to do. So we've got the one here, that's the inset, and then we've got this one. I'm going to move this one up above the start here, and I'll turn this one off. We don't need that one. This one, we've got this one, and then now let's turn back on Boolean. And as you can see, so when I make sure that all of the Boolean functions are set correctly, you can see that the insets are right where they need to be in this model. So all I have to do now is flip them around and then subtract. And so we have that on both sides. So cool. All we need now to do is just to press the Boolean feature, which is down here, Boolean, and then we'll have it. Make Boolean, and then it'll be ready to go.